Okay, I've got the injection pump here off my John Deere 1640 tractor. Now, I have an old John Deere 1640 out the back for parts, and my four-wheel drive tractor has the injection pump starting to leak. So I thought I'd take the time, keep my tractor mobile and reseal this pump. But in the meantime, I'm just going to run through it and reseal the whole thing. But I'd like to start the video with just a quick part on if you're leaking out of this seal or the stopper shaft seal. So this is your throttle on this side and this is your stopper there, and over time these O-rings in the housings there get hard and they leak, and it often leaks down the back of the pump and dribbles off the bottom. Now sometimes they leak around this big O-ring, and if the big O-ring's done, you've got to pull the whole pump apart. But what I'd like to do in just the first half of the video is pull this off, show you what you would need to do to just fix that, just do the top cover. So we'll start by undoing this little spring. We'll take the spring out of the way. I can probably stay on that. And you can see this pump has a wire on it, so it's never actually been apart, this one. So yeah, so the tractor that this was on, I bought it with a wrecked engine in it, and look, it used to run okay, but the line is buggered up, so that's how I come by this pump. So what I'd like to do to start with is on the top of the throttle shaft and the stop shaft, there's a little nut that a 5/16 spanner fits. Now this first part, like I said, is just for the sealing the top cover here, which is a very simple job. So I got my finger in bloody masking tape because I cut the back of it open. So the piece of the finger I'd like to use, well, it's just not available. So that comes off. There's a little tin cover under these, so that's just to help keep the rubbish and that out, keep dirt and that out. Then same spanner, 5/16 AF. Fits on the top here. And they're stuck there with paint, but that's the thing. Now these levers, I'll try and get this washer out of the way and show you. These levers have two little flats on them, and the flats are what holds it on. So if you can see this moving about and that shaft's not moving, sometimes you just got to tighten it back down to the flats properly. So anyway, we'll pop this lock washer off, and I think, where's my 3/8? There we go, that one. That's a 3/8 AF. Probably shouldn't be using a flare nut spanner, but that's what I'm using. Undo the two acorn nuts holding the top on. I'll just give this a bit of a bump. Okay, so that top's ready to come up. Now, this one can come up with it, but this one here, that has a spring. Now, the important thing to know here is to look for where that spring goes. So what you can do is you can actually bump both of these down, lift the top off. This one, it doesn't matter so much, but this throttle one, bump it down, I'm just going to push it so it stays in place. And the stopper's still in there, and you can see on the stop shaft, you can see on there and there, those two places. Yep, I think you can see that. Those two places is an O-ring. It's as simple as popping those O-rings off. See, this one's gone all hard and crumbly. So you pop those O-rings off, put new O-rings on, put this back in the cover with the new O-rings on, with the tab facing down towards the outside here. Now, this here, what you must take note of here is where the spring is. So you can see on mine you have 1, 2, 3 holes here. Mine's in the number 1 hole, and on the vertical governor plate there's 1, 2, 3 holes there as well. Okay, this is at this stage, what it's good to do is grab your phone and take a photo of where those springs are. And there we go. And when you go to put it back together, you haven't got to guess. So I'll close my phone down over here. This little rivet here, some have a spring on the rivet, but this little rivet here, it can be pulled out, and I'll just check that should have a spring on it, and that just sits in there like that. So, and this one here, I usually just take that out for cleaning it. That way there, if I go the right way, it'll help. And once again, we just replace the O-rings there. Once the O-rings are clean, you've given the top a good bath, you replaced all the O-rings. You can put this one in now, but this other one, it'll just sit up like that, and you can bring the top down over it, and away you go. So you put a new gasket on, and you can buy a kit with a gasket and just the O-rings in it. You don't have to do the whole kit. This pump here is looking pretty rusty up the top here, and the metering valve, this is a metering valve here. So the metering valve was stuck, so this pump might be toast yet. But I'd like to pull it apart and see if I can save it and keep it going. So yeah, we'll just see how we go from there. But if that's all you need to do is seal this housing here from these, well, it's just a matter of pull the top off, pull the levers off, pull the top off, take note of where the spring is, that is important, and line it all back up and slide him down over, and look, job done. Should take you a quarter of an hour, something like that, and you'll be all back racing. So after pulling that top off to reseal the top there, I'll just put that aside over on the bench over at the back there. Now, this pump looks like it's had a bit of water, and look, this tractor has sat out the back of my place for, look, probably best part of 10 years maybe, I don't know. It's just sat out in the open, so we're going to pull it all apart and see if we can make something of it, just because we have it there. And if it's no good, if it's past repair, we can always just use it for parts. You know, there'll be good parts in here. So this crankcase return line, I like to undo that. In the kit, there's actually a sealing washer that goes in there, and this one has a check ball. They don't always have a check ball. That has a check ball, so that'll have to be made sure that that's nice and clean. The delivery valves, like when they pulled the head off this years ago before I bought it, this pump has been open to the elements a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to just see if we can, well, I suppose turn pig shit into ice cream. Yeah, that's what it's all about. This is the bleeder screw, the bottom bleed screw. Now this bottom bleed screw, it actually holds this head in, holds it in place. Now this fella here, that just takes the side plate off. In here on the pump, I loosened this off earlier just so I wasn't banging around so much. Now, you may or may not know that, and I'm undoing some of these things while it's in the bracket here just because it's easy and it's held firmly. But under this fitting, which is your main inlet fitting, if we pull that little spring out there, the little spring's got a little retainer there. I'll try and keep it in focus for you. And what many people don't know about is there's an extra little filter screen in there. So if you're having trouble, you know, you've changed the filters and all that and the fuel's not coming through your filter or through your pump here, it is certainly worth looking at that. Now and then they're stuck. And the other thing is take the top off, and like my pump here from sitting, the metering valve here, they get stuck. So sometimes it's as easy as pop the top off, free up the metering valve, and away you go. Because when there's a stop rod here, and this rod, when you stop it, it pushes on the back of the bar on the metering valve and holds it in the off position. When you pull your throttle on, that pulls the metering valve open. And sometimes I've seen if people have water in their fuel, they've had a gutful of water come through, the water will instigate rust here, and this gets tight, and too tight for the governor here to work on it. How you can stop that a little bit is when you pull the stopper, when you stop your tractor, pull the stopper, and after it's stopped, push the stopper back in, and that'll push this forward, and then this will go back into the run position. And that way, even if it is sitting for a while and it gets a little bit rusty, the tractor will start, and once it gets the pressure it may free up. That's a may, not a will. Now, on the governor plate here, there's a little screw just down in here that has a couple of lock tabs on it, and that's for a 1/4 inch spanner this time. I'll undo that, and that comes in with the kit has a new lock tab for that. Now these two fellas up the front here, there's lock tabs on the front of them, but I find you just put a spanner there and they'll just undo. The little lock tabs fold down out of the way. These are little studs that go right up, and you know, that's what the acorn nuts go on that hold your top off. So you have the little lock washers there. Those little lock tabs, they come in the new kit. A little plate, and you notice the fork on the plate's going to the back. Now this should all just lift out. There we go. So there's a little spring under there. I leave this together. I clean it all up. This metering valve, you can see it's got a little bit of rust on it. Look, if you took that to a diesel shop, they'd replace it, and probably rightly so. But in a little job like this, we're just trying to do it ourselves. You can actually polish that up with a bit of pine board, you know, or a bit of 1200 paper even, but be very careful with it. You don't want to make build wear into it. So that can stay together. Now, these little nuts here for the governor, and you can see a couple of little lock nuts there on the end there. Yeah, don't go playing with that. Just leave it as it is. You can, for the metering valve, you can undo it like that. There's no problem there. And this is just a little rod that you can holds it in place. So you can undo that, no worries. I'm sure with all the junk here and this dirty pump, I'll have to tidy all this up. But that's no worries. Yeah, we can work with that. Okay. Now this housing here, it has a couple of little shuttle valves and things in it. We'll probably deal with it a bit separately, but there's 4 bolts that undo that. Your 5/16 AF spanner fits them. Now I've showed you the other. Sometimes I like to put this spring in and just put that on. There's a little shuttle valve and all in here, and that's just to make sure it doesn't fall out. You know, if something falls over on the bench or that, it's going to stay there. I suppose people would say I probably should be using a ratchet here, but look, I just like the feel of a spanner on these jobs. I think it's a better thing. For me anyway, you can use what you like. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And just cracking the paint there. That's the end now. This is an alloy housing here. The aftermarket ones you can buy bits of, you know, these Queensland Tractor Spares in Australia has these, but they've actually got a steel insert, so they're actually a better thing long term. So we won't pull that apart just yet. In the end here, there's a couple of vanes for a vane pump, and look, we might cover that a little bit later. Now we'll undo this bleed screw here. Now over the back, just about coming in at that angle there, there's another screw that holds the cam ring in. You'll need to take that out. And they've all got copper washers on them that come in the kit. Shift some of my rubbish out of the way. Now under here, a little hydraulic advance. Oh, where are you, Lance? Here we go. Stop looking, I found it. Undo that fella. That's got a sealing washer on him as well. Now this big one here, what's that? That has to be 3/4, I think. So we'll get a 3/4 spanner on there and undo him. Sometimes a little ball comes out of here. And what I'd like to do while I'm thinking about it is just pop a magnet in here. Yeah, I was wondering if a little spring on the rivet fell down, but this one may just not have had it. So that has an O-ring on and up in the housing here, but we'll look at that when it goes back together. There we go. And all the rubbish in there. That should move freely up in here, so we'll probably free that up a bit later. Now underneath here, there's a little screw, and it's got like a ball on the end of it. You may be able to just see it there. And it's got two flats on it for a proper spanner. I don't have the proper spanner. And the ball sits in here. And with hydraulic pressure, it should move this, but that's not going to move in a fit. So we'll just see. So I'll go and grab a little spanner and put on there. I don't have the proper tool for that. At the moment, and look, all that does, that changes the position of the cam track as it comes out. So we don't actually have to get that out just yet. What I might try and do, put one of these old delivery valves in, and so we're not using this old delivery valve again. It's been set out in the weather for ages. We may not even be able to save the pump, but it's well worth a fiddle. I've got the other delivery valve over the back. Pick up a few threads here. These come out real easy sometimes. This one's a little bit hard. You can see through the little hole here, it is on its way. A little aeroplane flying over the top. Got to be careful not to damage this housing here with whatever you use. Oh, usually these just pop out once you move them. Okay, and that's your main head, and yeah, the plungers are still moving there. But anyway, we might pop that apart. Then in the bottom here, this is the end where the end cap came off, you have a little vane pump here. And these little vanes are replaceable. They don't come in the kit, but they are replaceable. Probably worth doing, depending on how worn they are, but yeah, probably worth doing. if I turn this head over, yeah, it doesn't want to quite come. You can see a O-ring there too. That can leak on you. Now this ring here, it can be in different positions, but if you remember ours had a little roll pin at the back there, so that lines up with that, so you can't put that in wrong. If you leave that roll pin where it is, you can't put this end cap on wrong, it just won't go on. So, okay, now all we have to do is down the other end here, we have an Allen head screw in the middle there, and there is a special tool for doing this, but I don't have it. I didn't even know about it back in the early days. So a 5/16 Allen key goes down the middle there, and to undo it, and that holds the main front here onto the basket for the governor. So I'll see if I can come around behind the camera. That's the Allen head screw. And they have a funny little spring washer on them. And boy, that one was tight. And this here, this comes out, but sometimes they get stuck in there just from sitting there so long. So what you can do, you can come right down in through to the bottom of the threads with a punch, and that just knocks that governor basket, weight basket out. So that's loose. Oh, what I haven't done, I haven't undone this fella. I should actually hop on the mill and make myself a spanner for this, but anyway, I don't have one.